Today we are actually joined by Mark Given, who I just found out you're a real estate agent, but he is the founder of the trust-based philosophy. So good morning. How are you?
It's good to see you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah. So today's topic, we're actually going to talk about negotiation and how to negotiate like a pro. So Mark, let's just start out. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'll make it really, really quick. So for those of you so you'll know that I'm a realtor in North Carolina, and you're all over the country and many different places. I spend most of my time, though, because I have written 8 books. I'm an Amazon #1 best-selling author. My 4 newest books are on building trust. So trust in selling, trust in leadership, trust in success, and my newest one is trust-based networking. There's negotiation pieces in all of those. And although I live in North Carolina, I really end up traveling all over the United States and speaking to probably 90% of the speaking I do, and I'm out every week. I'm in Montana right now, is to realtors. So I have lots of 20 years of retail experience prior to real estate, and then right at the end of 1999, beginning of 2000, I got my real estate license in North Carolina, and I've been a licensed agent in North Carolina since then. Still am. So I'm an author, speaker, realtor, and I'd like to think, well, I'm called a relationship expert. So that's what I do.
Okay, you do a little bit of everything. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, today we're talking about negotiation and how you can negotiate like a pro. So the first step of this whole negotiation thing is impression. So can we kind of talk about how you can give your best first impression?
Yeah, that's a great question. And here's the reality, and there's actually science behind all of this that shows it, that negotiation always begins before the negotiation. We actually think it begins. So the negotiation begins before the negotiation. People make decisions about us, whether to connect with us, whether they want to even do business with us. So that's the negotiation. Before we can ever sell them a home or help them sell a home, buy a home, rent a home, whatever process you're in and whatever it is you do, they have to decide whether they even want or trust us enough to do business with us. So Harvard University actually did some research on this when I began writing the books on building trust. In fact, the first one was Trust-Based Leadership, Proven Ways to Stop Managing and Start Leading. I discovered this Harvard study that they spent 15 years on to determine how people actually feel about us. So how do they want to connect with us? In other words, we're negotiating the possibility of even working with them and them working with us. We call that's a kind of a tough word today. We call it profiling. But we were taught, all of us, when we were young, that we only have one opportunity to make a first impression. And we know that, except now we know the science after Harvard studied it for 15 years, wired thousands of brains and looked at reactions when they just get a first visual representation of you. This is before you've even had a chance to talk to them, that people decide in 50 milliseconds.
Wow.
In less than a blink of an eye. They form an opinion based on 2 criteria. One is, I like to do this, are we smart, or do we have enough intelligence to look like that we have some competence? So I like to call it competence. And then they're trying to decide within ourselves, do we have this, what's in here, which is our brain, and then our heart. So do we have competence, and do we have care? And how quickly did they decide that? 50 milliseconds. So if the agents within your organization even understand the importance of the fact that before we even get a chance to negotiate a real estate transaction, people are already negotiating with us. Do they want to even deal with us based on competence and care? 50 milliseconds. And what's really interesting is the people lean towards this. Are you a good person more than are you a smart person? In other words, if you're a good person, if they believe that when you're going through the process of serving them, that if you're more interested in their needs and that you'll fight for them, not you, and you'll show more interest, passion, efforts towards helping them get what they want. That's this. They'll forgive us if we make a mistake. So if we have a little bit of a glitch in competence, they'll forgive that if they know we're a good person. So actually the line I always use is what Zig Ziglar said. You probably don't even, some of you don't even know who he is. But anyway, Zig Ziglar was a great motivator across the world. He said, if my generation, of course, he's passed away now, he said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Other people have said that too. And he also said that you can have anything in life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. So in today's terms, in the science of building trust, as it relates to negotiating, the very beginning point, which is, will people even deal with us? Will they trust us enough to deal with us? 50 milliseconds. And if that doesn't scare you, it actually should scare you. Because in the blink of an eye, people form an opinion about us. And without boring you, I don't want to bore you, but to give you the science behind it, almost 100% of the time, whatever we decide in that 50 milliseconds, we own it. And it's called a cognitive bias. Once we decide whether we can trust you or not, or we can't trust you, our internal cognitive bias will go to work proving that we're right. So if you look like a good person, if you look like you'd go to battle for them, if you look like you'd fight for their causes, then, and they believe that. So their 50 milliseconds decides, yes, I want to deal with this person. I trust them to negotiate on my behalf. Their cognitive bias will say, we'll find ways to prove that you are that way. So almost 100% of the time, whatever that first impression that people have of you, once they believe it, they own it, they believe it. So you got to get it right the first moment before you even get to open your mouth. And then it leads to all the other pieces of the science, which is body language and what we say and how we say it. And all of that is part of negotiating. It's part of power negotiating. And that's why I call it negotiating like a pro, because real success comes from the details and learning to listen and really hear instead of just go to battle. We think they just want to sell a house, but it's a lot more than that, because in my belief, it's once a customer, always a customer, not just this one single transaction. In fact, real success in real estate comes from the long-term relationship, not just the one and done. So that's a basketball term, and it's March Madness, one and done. So yeah. So anyway, I hope, did I answer that question? Was that too?
Yes.
I hope that makes sense.
Is such a small number that it's even hard for me to wrap my brain around how.
51,000th of a second that you decide.
So you have to carry yourself well, and if you're carrying yourself well, then you're going to make a good first impression, because you don't even have a chance to say hi in that.
Right. You don't even get a chance to say a word. In fact, realistically, when I'm out and speaking, like I'm in Montana to speak the next several days, realistically, it's very important for me, because the negotiation begins before the negotiation. I am very cautious. I have a specific strategy as to how I begin a program, what happens before the program begins. It's really no different than in a listing presentation or a buyer. When you take buyers out, we really need to think about what is our process before we ever even get in front of them. In other words, what are we going to do? What are we going to say? How are we going to dress? The negotiation begins before the negotiation. And if we want to win, and if we want to win at a high level, the devil is in the details. It's not in the, well, I'll just go sell more properties. That sounds great, but actually you can sell more properties if you understand the science behind what it takes. Real estate is a relationship. It's about people. You may be selling a product, right? A home, or helping somebody buy a home. That's just the product. You're still dealing with people, and people are emotional. And so in fact, they make decisions based on emotion, and then they justify those decisions, all those decisions, with facts. So anyway, the most important point is this: be a good person. You'll get the competence, right? You'll get the skills. Even brand new agents that are worried about, well, I don't have any experience. Worry about this first. This will come. You can teach skills, but you cannot teach motivation. You cannot teach ethics. You either are ethical or you're not. You're either a good person or you're not. And so be a good person.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't teach that, but
can't teach that. But we know that it's common sense. But sometimes when we get up and we know we're going to have a bad day, or we feel like we're going to have a bad day, we'd be better off not to go to work.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not going to be a power negotiator if you're not at your best.
There's probably many days. Well, I don't want to say many because I'm typically a pretty nice person, but there's days where I'm sure my coworkers don't want to work with me.
Yeah. Hopefully, look. Here's the reality for everybody. Everybody's listening, not just you, not just me, but everybody's listening. That we hope we have a few bad days, because the truth is, if we have lots of bad days, the real problem is us. It's not other people. It's us.
Yeah. So I take away that first statement, many, but I'm sure there are days.
Yeah, just a few. You want to have as few as you possibly can.
I'm not too bad.
All right, so remember 50 milliseconds. That's what's important.
So that brings us to our next question. So when you mess up a connection, and hopefully you don't mess up that connection within the first 50 milliseconds, but when you do, or if you do, let's say if, because we don't want to say when.
Well, we all make mistakes. We'll
say if.
Okay.
If you do mess up a connection, how can you best repair that damage?
Well, we're hoping that their cognitive bias is that they know that we're a good person, and so we don't intentionally harm them, right? Mm-hmm. So if we make a mistake, there's really it's not a difficult process, but there is a process. The first thing that we have to do is to recognize that we did something and then admit it. It's really hard for some people to accept the fact that we want to be perfect and we don't want to make mistakes. And most people I know don't want to make mistakes. They just do. And so the first step is to just recognize that you made a mistake and admit it, right? In fact, we get afraid in real estate to admit it because we're scared to death that somebody will sue us, or they will write a letter to the real estate licensing board, right? Or they'll take us to a code of ethics. They'll threaten a code of ethics violation. And I recognize that we're in a litigious society. But the truth is, if we want to rebound, if we want long-term customers, if we want to succeed, we have to admit that we made a mistake. So that's number one. Then the second thing is, once we recognize we made a mistake and admit it, right? Then the second thing is to be real honest about that. We recognize that we harmed somebody, right? It hurt their feelings, or I did this wrong, and we understand how it could make them feel. In other words, we know how we feel when people have harmed us or done something to us. So once we admit that we've done something wrong, then we recognize that it has hurt their feelings, or it's hurt their position, or whatever. So we just tell them we recognize that's this is not where you want to be, and here's where we are, though. And then the third thing that we have to do is to take action to recover, right? In other words, we have to do something. So apologize, right? So we admit it, we recognize, we apologize, but then we actually take action to recover and to not do it again, right? But that's really four. The three is how do we fix it? Here's where we are, not where we wanted to be or where we thought we'd be, but here's where we are. So we've admitted it. We recognize that we've harmed them. Now we take action to correct it, right? To actually do something. And then the fourth thing is we have to understand that some people will not forgive us, and they will not love us, and maybe they will write a letter to the commission or somebody. But the truth is, I think our mamas all taught us that, lying, cheating, stealing, harming, whether we did it intentionally or not, we can't cover our sins, you might say, since, we can't, they all come out. Mm-hmm. So we're better off to address, here's where we are. Now, here's what we got to do to move forward. And then we hope they'll allow us they'll accept our apology and move on. But the reality, to protect yourself, to protect your company, the best thing that you can do when you mess up is just to admit that you messed up. Now, there's caveats to that. There are going to be situations, there are going to be soft things that that you don't want to. Yeah, you should never tell lies, and you should never. But sometimes, let's face it. I've been married for 40 some years, and if my wife comes to me and says, "Hey, this a new outfit, does it make me look fat?" and if it, the truth is, I can't say, right? I can't say, honey, you have things that make you look slimmer, right?
Yeah.
This is not your best look. I can't say that. So sometimes you got to know when you admit and when you don't admit, is what I'm saying, right? You got to know when saying the right thing is actually the right thing to do. Now, there's an internal compass, and we know that. If our gut tells us we did something wrong, we need to take action to recover, right, then we need to do that. There is an internal compass. In fact, there's science now that says that our abdominal areas have about 1 billion nerve endings. Their scientists are now calling our abdominal areas our second brain. So when we have that gut feeling, when we know when we've done something wrong, we know when we've said something wrong. So admit it, tell them how it feels, take some action to recover, and then allow them time to accept, right? It's up to them. You cannot force people to accept. Sometimes they're going to mess it up and can't recover. So that's why if my wife buys an outfit that's not slimming, I don't say, honey, you got things that make you look thinner, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not a big one, right? But in real estate, sometimes there are little things and sometimes there are big things. So I hope that answered the question. 4 steps: recognize and admit, right? Then we talk to them, tell them that we know we've harmed them. Then we take action to recover. Then we allow them time to decide what they're going to do. They have every right to choose what they're going to do, right?
Yeah.
And then we need to be prepared, because if we really messed it up, we need to be able to defend ourselves if necessary, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Can't cover our sins, right?
Yeah.
They all come out.
But if you do make a mistake, hopefully people can realize that, and they're going to respect you more because you're able to admit that mistake.
Tell the truth. Truth.
Yeah, and it's better off that way.
Yeah.
Because if you really did, if it was a big lie and you're trying to cover it up, they're going to say no.
Your gut will tell you whether your gut will tell you, I've got to do something about this. I mean, if it's bad enough that your gut says, maybe I need to call a lawyer.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Call a lawyer.
Yeah, but do it.
Right? Call a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
So we know. The truth is, we were all born with this innate ability. And this all relates to negotiating. I mean, it's life, it's negotiating, it's every day. I mean, realistically, we're born with this innate ability to know right from wrong. Now, it is culturally based and all that. I mean, it's where you grew up and how you were raised and all that stuff. But realistically, the majority of people that we deal with in the world, they know right from wrong. Mm-hmm. You know right from wrong. So negotiating, the wise thing, and we haven't really even gotten into how do we negotiate, because the devil's in the details, right? I mean, you can't be a power negotiator if you don't understand that, the important science behind the negotiation before the negotiation. So I hope I answered that question. I'm ready for number 3. All
right. I have it. So we've talked about the trust and how you can become a better negotiator by building trust. So let's go a little bit deeper into that trust, and what are the steps to build trust?
Okay, good. So there's really 4 levels of trust. I mean, we all know the concept of trust. We need to be trusted, right? We need to be trustworthy. But there's really 4 steps of trustworthiness. The first one I touched on, which is really what I call the grand opening. It's phase 1, which is how do people accept us, and we really talked about that, the 50 milliseconds. The second one then, and negotiating and in trust, is really the rapport building stage, which is getting to know people. The simplicity of becoming a great, powerful, professional negotiator is understanding that to be a great negotiator, we have to learn to listen more and talk less. So that means that we build rapport by asking questions and listening. You cannot negotiate on people's behalf if you do not understand what they truly want. So I call that the why And my simple Mark Givenism phrase, in fact, this was in my first book, which became an Amazon #1 best-selling book. I said, when your brain and your heart connect on the why, then that's when the what and the how will appear. So when your brain and your heart connect on the why, the what and the how will appear. So what that means is, to be a power negotiator, we can learn the hard skills of negotiating, gambits and those type of things. But the truth is, power negotiating is equally, maybe even more swayed towards soft skills, which is learning to listen and prepare. Right? So that's phase 2. Number 1 is the grand opening, 50 milliseconds, how we're received. Number 2 is learning to listen better. What do they truly want? In fact, in real estate, because this is a real estate program, we often say in the real estate industry, buyers are liars. And the truth is, that's not true at all. The reality of it is, buyers aren't liars. I know we think that because they tell us they want to buy a farm and then they buy a condo, right? But the truth is, we start showing them farms. That's what we heard them say. Mm-hmm. And then as they started learning more about what they said they wanted, they changed their mind. We quit asking. We quit asking questions. So they changed. We didn't. So we think they're lying to us. And the truth is, we stopped what was phase 2, which was the building rapport, constantly building rapport, which is listening, asking questions and listen. The person that asks the questions controls the conversation, not the person talking. I mean, look, the truth is, in this Facebook Live that we're doing right now, I'm doing all the talking. And I'm not telling you, I'm not learning anything, because all I'm doing is spewing all the things I already know. If I was out with a client and wanted to be a powerful negotiator, I would talk less and listen more. I would then I can prepare, right? Prepare. So phase 3 is, once you get past the grand opening, once you get past the rapport stage, which is the listening, then you're a giver, right? Give. Be a giver. The world loves givers. Now, in real estate, there's both the legal side and the ethical side. And the legal side is, we call fiduciary duty, which means that you got to protect the interest of your client. So from a phase 3 standpoint, once you've listened and you understand what that they want, as long as they don't ask you to do or say or perform in an illegal manner, our job is to perform, right? Be a giver. Give them what they want. Zig Ziglar said, you can have anything in life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. So you give. Phase 3 is the giving phase. You don't even have to agree with it. You don't even have to like it, right? You don't have to even understand it. If you don't understand, it's because you didn't do a good enough job in phase 2. But the third phase is give. Be a giver, not a taker. In other words, you'll get what you want if you give them what they want. So don't ever do anything illegal, but if you represent them and you want to build trust with them, then you help them get what they want. So when the brain and the heart understands, right, what they want, then the what and the how will appear. And you're the what and the how. You're the one that delivers that. So that's 3. And then so 1 is the grand opening, 2 is the rapport stage, 3 is the giving stage, and number 4 we just talked about in question 2, which is the apology stage. Not going to happen very often, but when we mess up, the apology stage kicks in, and we go through those steps of apology. So that's how you do it. Power negotiating is not just about gambits. It's not although personalities are important, although styles of negotiating are important, the soft skills of negotiating are actually more powerful and more critical than the hard skills, the left brain stuff, the gambits, right? The right brain stuff, the not the intellectual stuff, but the creative stuff is how we become power negotiators. We're not trying to keep people from jumping off bridges, right? Or we're not dealing with people like that. We're trying to help people with the largest investment they'll often make in their lives, which is buying and selling, whether it be a primary principal residence or an investment property, right? Or land or commercial or whatever we're doing. Soft skills. I cannot impress upon that enough, the importance of understanding and maximizing our ability to increase our knowledge of soft skills. All right, so that's question 3.
Yeah, I actually don't think people think about the soft skills when it comes to negotiation.
Well, people, they put it aside because they say, no, soft skills, that's easy. No, they're not easy. If they were easy, everybody would do it. In fact, if people are out there taking notes, they should write down conversion ratio. The conversion ratio, excuse me 1 second. A conversion ratio is, as an example, if I go out and I list 10 homes, but I'm only able to get 6 of them sold, then my conversion ratio is only 60%. Soft skills will help you improve that, right? They'll help it. That, in fact, the 4 phases of trust, right? The introduction, or the grand opening, and then the phase 2, which is the listening, right? Listening. Phase 3, which is the giving, and then 4, whenever necessary, is the apology. That will help us improve our conversion ratios. It's the same thing like going on listing appointments. If we go on a bunch of listing appointments, but we don't get the listings, that means we're not good enough at negotiating. We're not good enough at something in one of those 4 skills, probably not 4, but in 1, 2, 3. If we're out working with buyers and they disappear on us, that's horrible, because that means we blew it. We messed it up somehow, right? And they don't trust us. They don't trust us. So it's not that we don't need to know hard skills, but man, the hard skills just enhance soft skills. So we need the soft skills.
And when those things do happen, you got to go back and evaluate yourself and say, what did I do?
How could I have done better? Yeah.
They just don't leave. I mean, there has to be something that happened, and that's why people may drop you.
Sure. And in my programs, when I have more time, if I have a few hours or half a day or a full day, then we get into the personalities, because there's 4 dominant personality traits, and people are people, but realistically, everybody's not the same, so you can't treat them all the same. So you have to have the skills in order to be able to help them achieve what they want.
Yeah.
And that's, trust is all a critical part of this.
Perfect.
So, next question. You got time for another question?
Well, I actually realized that my 2 last questions were the same question, just worded differently. So
okay.
That's my own fault. I got excited about all this trust that I made 2 of the questions. So let's end with this. Why don't you just tell people where they can find you and how they can reach you, and if they want to talk to you or if they have questions?
Sure. In fact, I wish they would. A couple invitations. First of all, you can find me at markgiven.com. So it's just markgiven.com. You can buy my books online, and so some of them are on Amazon. All my new trust books, you have to go to my website to actually purchase those. You can email me at markgiven.com. I wish you would. And I'd love it. I really would love it, as whenever you watch us, whether it be today or if it's a month or a year after we have actually recorded this Facebook Live, I'd love to invite you to get my weekly 1-minute message. So I send out a Mark's Minute every Wednesday morning. It's a motivational or instructional message. It's about life and success. It's about sales and leadership, and it's about all the pieces, the things that I talk about. And it's my perspective on things. And so to sign up for that, all you have to do is just send me an email at markgiven.com, or you can go to my website and sign up for Mark's Minute there too. I wish you'd get that, even if you don't buy my books. Get my 1-minute message. I'd love for you to do that. And then I'm out speaking all over the country for all kinds of events, both association events, state events, company events for lots of different companies just like yours. And I'd love it if you'd come see me sometime. Come up and say hello, and and let's talk about building trust and improving trust in life, trust in business, trust in the world, so that we can find the happiness and joy that we're seeking. And I'm just thrilled to be with you guys today.
Perfect. Well, we were thrilled to have you. And this is like I said, people don't think about the soft skills, so I think it's very important to bring those to people's attention, because it's not our first thought to have that, to build that trust, to become a better negotiator. A lot of people don't put those things together. So I appreciate you coming on and talking to us and teaching not only me, but all of our viewers something new, hopefully.
My pleasure. Please have me back. I'd come back. I'd be glad to come back again.
Definitely. I did put Mark's website in the description of this video, so you don't even have to go into your browser and type it in. You can actually just click on the description of this video and it's going to take you straight to his website. I also have his email in there. But yes, go to his website, check out his books, and I'm actually interested in Mark's Minutes. I want those.
You know what? One more thing before I go. I also have a YouTube channel called Mark's Minutes, and there's about 250 short videos, really short, 1 to 3 minute videos, all on all kinds of topics of life and joy and success. Lots of them talk about the trust type issues, and those are all free. So, and in fact, I don't even have commercials attached to them. They are not revenue generating videos for me. I just we posted over the last several years, we've posted 250. We'll continue to post more. So you could go to YouTube and find me there on Mark's Minute. Just type it in. Look, there's only one face that looks like this, so you can find me.
I like it. I like it. Well, thank you again for being here with us. And I love talking to you. So yes, we will definitely talk about having you back on. I'm sure you have so much more insight you can give us. We can go so much more in depth with this topic, but thank you for coming on and joining us for the past, it's been about 30 minutes. So
awesome. My pleasure. We'll talk to you again. You guys have a great life. See you now.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. Next week, we will be joined by Gabriel Di Cristofaro. It's a long last name. I didn't want to butcher it, but I think I did okay. And we will be talking about lead generation using print marketing. So we do talk a lot about digital marketing, but we're going to talk about how you can still use print marketing and how it can still be effective, even if you are using digital marketing, which you should be. So we will be talking about that next week. But thanks again for everyone for joining us this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.